Hello everyone and welcome to Total War Through the Ages. In this episode we're going to be facing off for the Brutii for the first time in this campaign in the early stages of the Roman Civil War. Now initially, as you saw there, I attempted to withdraw, but it wasn't enough and they were able to catch me out anyway, so the battle must be fought. Now right here, as I'm surveying the battlefield, I very quickly spot this back corner over here, and I made the decision to hold up in the corner. Now, obviously, early on in this series, one of the first battles I fought against the Carthaginians, I attempted to hold the corner against a superior force, and it didn't go so well. I lost pretty badly. However, I've learned a lot since then. First of all, the whole using the checkered pattern, which works really well, and just overall some, pretty basic stuff about, controlling your army and stuff like that. Again, going back, a big part of that is the checkerboard pattern, which allows me to be fairly versatile in my forces. So I'm fairly confident with this, partly because also the terrain is a pretty big advantage. As you see there, we have that ridge line in the front, which will give us a pretty significant advantage as their troops have to fight uphill. And also the cliff face is completely protecting our right side, so we don't have to worry about getting attacked from the right at all. We can just focus on a single side that the enemy can attack us on. And of course, the left flank is completely protected by the edge of the map. Additionally, I attempted, as you saw early on, to set my cavalry up on that left side, kind of on the edge of the map. I was hoping that the enemy would be drawn in by my infantry, and I'd be able to fight, kind of have my cavalry circle around their flanks. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen, as you're about to see. But meanwhile, the catapults are firing off. Now, in hindsight, it probably would have been far more effective to not use fire ammunition, because fire ammunition makes the catapults pretty inaccurate in my experience. I don't know if that's actually how it works, but I definitely know that in my experience from what I've seen, whenever I use use the fire projectiles with the catapults, they tend to be pretty inaccurate. I also could have done a better job of pulling that frontmost catapult back earlier so that they didn't get caught out there, but that's kind of a minor thing. And as you saw, I pulled my cavalry back because the enemy were sending quite a few units to go deal with them. I reformed my auxilia because they kind of got screwed up when the cavalry rode through their ranks, which of course isn't great. Now, at this point, I should have kind of adjusted my units a little bit better. Like I said, I could have pulled the catapult back and avoided it getting engaged. However, I wasn't quite fast enough, and I end up getting, I have to send in pretty much all my forces on the left there. Now, the flip side is that, as you kind of saw there, the enemy catapult actually landed a shot in the middle of their own guys, so that was pretty good for me. Now, at this point, these guys kind of rally up, and I just have them sit in the back, because I don't want to lose these catapults. They are kind of part of my overall plan to be able to attack without having to wait a turn to besiege a settlement. Being able to assault it immediately when I get there, so I want to keep the siege equipment alive for that purposes. Now, some of the enemy units start to rout right here, and it was kind of at this point that I decided, okay, we're gonna try and push them back at this point, because I wanted to get my cavalry. I want to be able to get my cavalry through and go for the enemy catapults, because they are kind of raining down on me. Now, our first unit routes, or our first two units actually routed right there. It's our auxilia. Now, this is actually a very interesting thing. I saw the flag pop up, and I was like, how in the world did they get there? And I honestly still don't know, but it's like one or two guys from a unit that's below them on the cliff face, which you'll see later on. But here, like I said, we're basically, at this point, it's all right, we're going in, we're going to try and bunch through. I actually hold the cavalry back because I wasn't quite ready to get fully committed yet, because again, I didn't want to just do a front-on charge against the enemy infantry. I probably wouldn't have been able to break through, and I just kind of waste my cavalry and take a lot of casualties. However, once I get that other unit of Praetorians engaged, I then opt to push in at that point. Now, one of our units of Praetorians and Legionaries are routing at this point, though thankfully one of our routing units from previously have rallied. But again, this battle I wasn't so sure what the result was going to be at this point in the battle. I was fairly confident that I would be able to win, but I was a little bit nervous. Now, thankfully, we're able to break through their center right there with that one and get our one unit of cavalry through, which allows me to then flank the guys on their left flank, which of course, as you can expect, causes them to rout relatively quickly. And at this point, their left is completely collapsed, and oddly enough, the guys actually routed right there on the edge of the map. I thought that was kind of funny. So I'm able to pull the cavalry back and then pull these infantry as well to kind of start wrapping around the enemy flank. Now, that cavalry unit I could have done a flank charge with, but I opted... No, actually, no, I'm sorry. I do actually flank charge with them. I'm sorry, I thought I sent them against the enemy catapult. But no, yeah, I actually do flank charge with them. Now, my second unit of cavalry at that point, as you saw, just broke right then. But we are getting the one unit. We're starting to get our infantry engaged around the enemy's flanks, as well as the cavalry charging. So their entire center, what was left of their center before or after I'd already broken through, what was left is now routing, and their left flank has also started to rout, their left being on our right, of course. Now, at that point, again, I'm not sure what happened, how that one or two guys from the unit down below got up there, but either way, it kind of distracted my catapults for a minute, but I just have them man the catapults again. I don't really use them that much for the rest of this battle, but, I might as well just have them man it. Now, jumping forward a bit here, because it was just more of the same, I kind of just had my cavalry charge in, pull out, charge in again, just until the enemy started routing for the most part, and then I get my cavalry to charge ahead and go for the enemy catapults, which, as you can see here, that's what I'm doing now. But the enemy have that one unit of infantry that's trying to run down my cavalry. So of course my cavalry cannot run them, but I was trying to be a little bit careful because I didn't want to get them caught up before they got to the catapult. I mean. So at this point, I'm charging with my general, and as you can tell, I've pretty much won this battle. They have a few units left, and some of them are actually, they had one unit of Praetorians left, I think, at this point. So I was a little bit worried because a lot of my units were really badly damaged. So I have the weak units pulled back, but thankfully I have my two Praetorians, which are still decent strength, and I have that one other unit of legionaries, which is pretty strong. Then I have a relatively weak one, but they're strong enough that I am going to commit them. And as I said, overall, a lot of my forces were really badly beaten up. And so at this point, I'm really hoping to use my cavalry a lot. So I keep pulling my cavalry away because I'm trying to get my infantry engaged and then have my cavalry charge in behind. But unfortunately, their unit kept getting away from my guys because all of my units were pretty tired at this point. They'd used up a lot of their stamina earlier in the battle. Now, as you can tell there's an enemy unit of Brutii behind my infantry there on that slope of the hill, kind of running down. I actually didn't notice that for a while. Yeah, you see, I finally noticed it right there, so I ordered the one unit to turn around and engage them. Now, they actually catch out my general right there. Oh, no, sorry, not my general. They catch out my Roman cavalry almost. They kind of get them engaged a little bit, but I'm able to just pull them out in time. And I finally almost get my infantry in, but not quite. So I'm like, all right, screw it. We're going to have the cavalry engaged to stop the enemy unit from running away. Then we get our infantry engaged. Then we pull our cavalry out. That's a lot better than trying to have my infantry catch theirs in a never-ending, infinite chase. So I'm able to pull the cavalry out. And I actually send my general to go back up my really weak units in the back there to finish off that unit. Because again, I believe that unit was routing previously, but then it rallied back once I kind of had drawn most of my forces away. As soon as that unit had routed, I had my cavalry run it down, and my infantry started coming over this way. They have one unit left, which was actually close to being full strength, so I was a little bit worried. Not super worried, because I have the two units of Praetorians and a unit of Legionaries. So again, I wasn't super worried. Plus, I also have my cavalry that I'll be able to send in here in the flank, but I did take my time to set it all up. But yeah, I was a little bit nervous because, again, if one of my units routes, that could potentially lead to all my units getting routed. So I was just a little bit concerned that I didn't want to, I took my time because I didn't want to rush it and end up losing because of it. Because again, at this point have had very few forces left. But I charged in with my infantry, and that actually is enough. I was going to send my cavalry in, but they actually rout. But I do go ahead and continue the battle to run down. So I completely wipe out that unit. I didn't want them to have I wanted to avoid them having as any guys left at the end. I wanted to try and kill as many as I could, which I do. They barely have any people at the end of that battle. Now, this is the same turn, just so everyone is aware. Immediately after that attack, they attacked me again. Now, this battle was very interesting because, as you see, I actually have 3 units of cavalry, 4 counting my general. So this is actually a lot of cavalry for me overall, especially since that's a lot of cavalry for not having very many infantry. I only have 6 units of infantry. I thought it was 5 there for a minute, but I only have 6 units of infantry, and none of them are Praetorians. And as you saw, the enemy actually had some decent quality infantry. I don't believe they had any urban cohorts in this army. I think they only had Praetorian cohorts. But either way, it's still pretty good quality infantry compared to what I had. I had the 1 unit of Auxilia, the 2 early legionaries, and the 3 legionaries. And I was also, of course, outnumbered in this battle as well. And they had I believe it was 2 units of catapults, which I was a little bit worried about because catapults actually can do a decent amount of damage. I actually kind of realized that I'd played a few multiplayer battles on the side against a friend of mine, and as well as I played a couple of custom battles against the AI. So I'd kind of experimented with artillery and stuff on the side in between when I was playing the camp for this series. So I kind of learned a little bit about how devastating catapults can be, particularly against infantry. Now, cavalry can basically move fast enough that the catapults can't hit them. But, as you see here, we're getting fully engaged. I had my cavalry, 1 unit of cavalry on my left, and the rest of my cavalry on my right. I was a little sloppy there initially with my cavalry maneuvering. I should have sent them in a lot faster. And, as you see, it kind of costs me my center there as one of my units starts to rout. But I was, at this point, I was still trying to finish off their catapults because I wanted to knock them out as quickly as possible. Now, again, like I said, I was very sloppy. I should have had a lot of my units engage a lot faster. I was a little bit slow on some of that. And my left flank starts to rout, which is not really good, especially because my entire left collapses. But I rally back this unit, and I collapsed their right flank. Or you can't really call it their right flank, kind of their right cluster of guys. At this point, it's just a huge mess kind of all congregating in the middle. But I'm trying to get my cavalry unengaged so that I can then charge in afterwards, and I'm trying to rally up my infantry to form a block so that I can finish off, so that I can have my cavalry charge into the backs of something. So jumping forward a bit, most of my infantry start to rout. Now, we kill the enemy general, and at that point I was like, okay, that's awesome, we killed the enemy general. That's gonna kind of be the uptake that we need to finish off this battle. But as you see there, pretty much all my infantry is routing at this point, as well as one of my units of cavalry. And again, jumping forward a little bit farther, some of my units of infantry rally up, and I kind of at this point had just had my cavalry targeting like the really weak units of the enemies and getting them to rout. As you see there, I think I mentioned this last time, but yeah, that's a really annoying thing that happens sometimes with some of the hotkeys. It will mute the sound, and for some reason that really bugs me when the sound gets muted. I'm not sure why, but I like having the sound. I guess it's because it gives me a response that I know that I did something, because the little sound effects when you're clicking. But as you see here, I have my 1 unit of cavalry engage their unit of cavalry, and then I have my general charge in the back here. I was hoping that my infantry would hold long enough, that this last unit of infantry would hold long enough. Unfortunately, it ultimately did rout. But I have at this point 3 units of cavalry. No, I'm sorry. I had 2 units of cavalry. My 3rd unit of cavalry actually routed. But yeah, all right. I did have unit. I knew I had 3 cavalries, but one of them was routing. But I had my general rush over and kind of got them to rally. So I have 3 units of cavalry, but all my infantry is gone. There's a lot of enemy infantry left. Things don't look too great. But I basically decided, okay, I have 3 units of cavalry. I can do this. I can do this if we just take our time and target the enemy infantry one at a time and basically get these charges off like this, completely wipe out the unit, because I don't want any of their units rallying at this point. So we wipe out that unit entirely, or not. I think those few guys there are getting away. So again, like I said, we have 3 units of cavalry. We can do this. All we have to do is just hit and run tactics, take out units one at a time. So we're trying to catch out this one enemy unit right there so that we can get them in, get the charge off with all our units. Unfortunately, they were running away from us. I believe that's a unit of skirmishers, but I'm not 100% sure. But we do eventually catch them out, and they of course rout, so we just run them down. This continues for a while, and I was actually, while I was playing, I sped it up, because at this point I was just running away from the enemy, waiting kind of partly for my guys to regain and partly to get in positions where I wanted to. Now, my 1 unit of cavalry got caught out there and actually routed. So I'm down to just my general and 1 other unit, and during this battle I was really nervous because I really didn't want my general to die. I was trying to keep my general alive, and in fact, if I'd been a little more aggressive with my general, I maybe could have won this battle, but of course he might have died as well. But that's kind of the question: is the life of one general worth a victory? It's kind of an interesting question. But we're able to rout their last unit of cavalry as well as rout this unit of infantry. So at this point, it's like, okay, I'm down to 2 units of cavalry, though actually my 3rd one just rallied there, but I think I actually forgot. I didn't notice in time. Okay, I do notice in time, so I am able to pull them back, but they start routing again because I didn't notice in time. So they did, in fact, start routing, and I was kind of using that unit of cavalry as bait. to kind of get the enemy unit to turn around and turn their backs to my general. Charge in here, get engaged, and boom, the unit routs, and then we can run them down. But at this point, every time I do this, while it is very effective, every time I do this, I lose 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 or 4 soldiers within the unit. So at this point, I had everything sped up. I was just taking my time. Like I said, I was partly trying to have my guys rest up a bit and also get them in position. But my last unit of cavalry, besides my general, dies. They didn't rout, they just died outright, but I am able to break that one unit. So the enemy at this point has 2 units left, but both of those units are way too strong. They have way too many guys left in them for my general to be able to rout them in a single charge, especially because I can't get a flank charge off because they're always going to be facing me because they're walking towards my general. So after a while, I just kind of kite with my general for a while, kite away from the enemy, until eventually I'm like, okay, I don't want to lose my general because I don't want to suicide him, charge in, and I can't withdraw him from the battle. So I was like, okay, ultimately I just end up exiting out of the battle, and we lose. But we took down a lot of them with us. Anyway, that's all the time for this episode. I kind of have to rush this ending, but thank you all for watching, and as always, till next time.